In the 15th letter, Screwtape addresses the question, past, present, future. Where should our attention be? It might interest you to know that we're focused on the wrong ones. Exactly the ones that the devils want us to be focused on. They want us to be pessimistic or optimistic about the future.
Tortured fear and stupid confidence are both desirable states of mind. Our choice between them raises important questions. The humans live in time, but our enemy destines them to eternity. He therefore, I believe, wants them to attend chiefly to two things: to eternity itself, and to that point of time which they call the present. For the present is the point at which time touches eternity. Of the present moment, and of it only, humans have an experience analogous to the experience which our enemy has of reality as a whole. In it alone, freedom and actuality are offered them.
Isn't it interesting? God experiences reality like we experience the present. We experience freedom and actuality in the present. God is in a perpetual state of freedom and actuality. Actuality in the sense that God truly exists in all times, like we only do in the present. So God wants us to be focused on eternity, or with the present.
Either meditating on their eternal union with or separation from himself, or else obeying the present voice of conscience, bearing the present cross, receiving the present grace, giving thanks for the present pleasure.
If this is God's purpose, then the devils want to work to get our focus off the eternal and the present. That means they want our attention on the past and on the future. Screwtape says that the use of the past isn't all that profitable.
It is far better to make them live in the future. Biological necessity makes all their passions point in that direction already, so that thought about the future inflames hope and fear. Also, it is unknown to them, so that in making them think about it, we make them think of unrealities. In a word, the future is, of all things, the thing least like eternity. It is the most completely temporal part of time, for the past is frozen and no longer flows, and the present is all lit up with eternal rays.
I love how Lewis always does this in these letters. He inverts our expectations. I think most of us would think of the future as the most like eternity, not the least like it. Eternity flows and is the most real. The future isn't real, it's mostly imaginary. The present is real, and it's that point in time that intersects with eternity. For instance, it is in the present moment that we can expect and receive an endowment of grace, a portion of our daily bread, and the strength to resist temptation. I borrowed those three things from the previous letter. Screwtape then points out that while almost all of the vices are future-oriented, the virtues are not.
Gratitude looks to the past and love to the present. Fear, avarice, lust, and ambition look ahead. Do not think lust an exception. When the present pleasure arrives, the sin, which alone interests us, is already over. The pleasure is just the part of the process which we regret and would exclude if we could do so without losing the sin. It is the part contributed by the enemy, and therefore experienced in a present. The sin, which is our contribution, looks forward.
Does this mean that Christians are never to think about the future? No, we need to think about the future, but in a particular way. Screwtape explains the opposite of that way.
To be sure, the enemy wants men to think of the future too, just so much as is necessary for now planning the acts of justice or charity, which will probably be their duty tomorrow. The duty of planning the morrow's work is today's duty, though its material is borrowed from the future. The duty, like all duties, is in the present. This is not straw-splitting. He does not want men to give the future their hearts, to place their treasure in it. We do.
To illustrate the difference between the approaches of heaven and hell, Screwtape offers a comparison of two men, starting with God's ideal.
His ideal is a man who, having worked all day for the good of posterity, if that is his vocation, washes his mind of the whole subject, commits the issue to heaven, and returns at once to the patience or gratitude demanded by the moment that is passing over him. But we want a man hag-ridden by the future, haunted by visions of an imminent heaven or hell upon earth, ready to break the enemy's commands in the present, if by doing so we make him think he can attain the one or avert the other, dependent for his faith on the success or failure of schemes whose ends he will not live to see. We want a whole race perpetually in pursuit of the rainbow's end, never honest, nor kind, nor happy now, but always using as mere fuel, wherewith to heap the altar of the future, every real gift which is offered them in the present.
When we live in the present, we avoid the dual curses that come with being future-focused, the fear of things that might happen, and the disappointment in the things that don't. The devils don't really care if we are filled with anxiety or with hope, as long as we are focused on the future. The devils just don't want us to live in the present.
But the phrase living in the present is ambiguous. It may describe a process which is really just as much concerned with the future as anxiety itself. Your man may be untroubled about the future, not because he is concerned with the present, but because he has persuaded himself that the future is going to be agreeable. As long as that is the real course of his tranquility will do us good, because it is only piling up more disappointment, and therefore more impatience, for him when his false hopes are dashed.
So living in the present because you are unrealistically optimistic about the future is different than living in the present and being realistic about what the future may hold. The devils have a lot more trouble with someone who is realistic about the future.
If, on the other hand, he is aware that horrors may be in store for him and is praying for the virtues wherewith to meet them, and meanwhile concerning himself with the present because there, and there alone, all duty, all grace, all knowledge, and all pleasure dwell, his state is very undesirable and should be attacked at once. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape.
It is such an important reminder that our focus be on the present. There's two little phrases in this letter that bear remembering. Maybe you want to commit them to memory. They say the same thing, but I can't decide which is best, so I'll give you both. The present is the point at which time touches eternity. And the other one, the present is all lit up with eternal rays. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.